My name is Abdullahi Shekh. I am the chairman of American Muslims HIV Task Force. And today I'm going to speak or talk about HIV is a topic that is hardly discussed. We need to have this conversation. We were brought up by parents and they molded us into being who we are. And we would like to also inform the younger fellows that there's the good part of sex, there's also the sour part of sex, and that HIV prevention, AIDS treatment is very important. And so the community needs to embrace an open conversation around these areas. There is no, I wouldn't say this is right or this is wrong. Some people may have obstinate opinion about HIV or AIDS, but unless we talk about it, then what happens is that we will never talk about it. There's a Somali proverb which says, whatever you hide, hides you. So, and that means if you keep something to yourself and you don't talk about it, you will be depressed with it and it will also hide you. Like if you have HIV positive, come out and go get treatment, get medications. If you are HIV AIDS blown, go for care. And these days you can get treatment that will ensure that you lead a normal life. Many times people tend to have myth and misconception about HIV. You can you can dine, sit, hug, eat together with someone who has HIV or AIDS without getting it. And as I said, I have explicitly explained how you can get it. It's more specific in terms of how you get HIV, but there's a myth and taboo out there that you get these things or HIV through hugging. At one time, I had a colleague whom I hugged who was an HIV positive, and some other people felt that I should not have hugged, and I had to educate them about it. One other important thing is stigma. Stigma is important in the sense that many times when someone is diagnosed with AIDS or has the virus HIV and people know about it, especially the Muslim community, the other conservative communities, they tend to shun them away. And I think this is not fair. It's not fair to the client. It's not fair to the basic rights of the individuals. We need to help and support individuals who are HIV positive, who have AIDS, to go and to care and get treatment. One time I was referred a gentleman, a young man in his early 20s, very humble, very quiet, apparently very honest, what I will say a gentleman. And I was referred, someone referred me, a colleague of mine referred him to me because I was English speaker and I was in the HIV world. And this gentleman basically was a Somali. And when he was referred to me, the first thing he wanted to know was whether I will be honest enough to keep the secret that he's an HIV. And I told him we have an oath in the health field that once you take that oath, I am not supposed, or nobody is supposed to reveal the status of an HIV person. This gentleman could hide, he told me he could hide his drugs, his antiviral drugs from his mails. He could not talk about his sexual life with anybody. There were times when he was working at one of the places, I wouldn't mention where he was working, but when he was engaged by his peers and his colleagues around dating and around everything else that is about flirting and basically marrying and all the rest, he could not really talk about it. He said he felt embarrassed that that he was even pushed by young girls he was working with to to really commit him. And he knew at the back of his mind that he will not date because he was an HIV positive, and he didn't want to do that. Eventually, his biggest dream was to really, get through with the treatment, be better off, be able to be confident to come out. And he said that was dependent on the community. In much of the communities, especially the conservative communities, like the Muslim community and the Somali community or the African-born communities, they have a tendency of stigmatizing individuals who are HIV positive or who have blown HIV AIDS. This is apparently the reasons why we have so many people who are not coming out to get the benefits of care. When I say care is, we are blessed by modern approaches where we are able to really live a long life without an HIV. Much of the times, the old convention was that abstinence is the old methods where some communities practice. We still encourage. There is also use of condom. Use of condom, we could look at in two places, in two ways. There are communities that are conservative, basically religious, and will not want to hear about condoms. Well, that is good enough and very good enough. But there are other communities, especially younger fellows who were born in the 90s or earlier than 90s, who have come from Africa, come to these places, still young, vibrant, and sexually active, and that condom and the rest may not be a lot of, may be a lot of significant to them. So we encourage those who will not abstain to be able to use condoms. And as much as condoms have a lot of controversy in different communities, what we are saying is that those who can abstain and not use condom, great, please keep on that. But if you have to have sex between two people who are not committed to themselves, or if you cannot commit to one partner, then we will ask you to use condom. Essentially, the message I want to pass here is, having worked in the HIV world for close to more than 20 years, I am excited to see that at one point, HIV in the mid-80s, early 80s, it was a dreadful killer disease. Not anymore. All we need to do is people get educated, learn about HIV, people do practice prevention. Those who are married commit to themselves. Those who are in relation commit to themselves, and at the same time going for care and treatment. And so what I would say is the chances of anybody with HIV virus or with AIDS living up to the maximum time he can live or she can live like a normal person is equal. It's no longer what it used to be. Hopefully this is helpful, but again, given the short time, I'm not able to say everything. Hopefully this is useful, and you will also find time to explore more in terms of knowing more about the HIV world and the AIDS world.